Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Austin Scott. He's a member of the House Intelligence, Armed Services, Rules, and Agricultural Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. The Democrats keep blaming Trump for killing the bill. Your reaction?
Just pure stupidity. I mean, just not true. It's just a lie they're telling to win the campaign. Let me say this, two things on it. One is, notice Bill Clinton refuses to use the word illegal. He was an illegal immigrant. Legal immigration is an asset to the country that Donald Trump supports and Republican supports. Illegal immigration is a liability to the country that Donald Trump opposes and we as Republicans oppose. For the last several years, the Democratic Party has allowed illegal immigration to take precedent over legal immigration. And they refuse to even acknowledge that these people are illegally in the country. They've never been vetted. We have no idea who they are, what type of network brought them here, or what networks are supporting them while they're inside the United States of America. They are a threat to our economy. They are a threat to our security, and they need to be deported.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. This guy, Ibarra, who killed Laken Riley, allegedly, you know, he was in the country and released in 2022. You know, this bill that they claim, let's talk a word about this bill. This bill that they claim would have, you know, saved everything. That bill was to allow 5,000 illegals into the country every day. It wasn't a bipartisan bill. Sure, it was written initially by Lankford, but I believe at the end of the day, Lankford voted against it.
Because Lankford understood the politics of the Democratic Party and how they were using this to divide the country. And so it is. Lankford's a good man. I disagree with him on this piece of legislation, but I want to go back, Maria, to the big issue. Illegal immigration. The Democratic Party has invited them here. They have turned around and given them, they give them food, they give them cell phones. You know, this is a liability to our country, not only from a national security standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. We're $35 trillion in debt. We have a $2.5 trillion deficit. Mayorkas has refused to secure the border at the direction of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And this is a very real problem for the country. And until it is addressed, it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem. And the fact of the matter is the millions of people that have come into this country illegally are going to have to go back to their country of residence and where they're citizens.
Well, I mean, what is this obsession with having an open border? I mean, the open border has had so many negative ramifications. But to consider the fact that they've actually used all these different pots of money to send money to illegals, including FEMA, emergency money, we believe because KJP told us about it 2 years ago. We have her on tape saying all the money that was coming from FEMA going to illegal migrants. Why do they have this wide open border? And if that's the case, why doesn't Kamala Harris just own it? She knows what she's done in the last 4 years. Own it.
But because it's the faction of their party that controls their primaries. It is their donor base that controls their party that demands the open borders. And so they're not going to stand up to that radical faction of the Democratic Party. We have people absolutely running for office as Democrats claiming to be socialists. There's no difference in socialism and communism. And, you know, these people do not care about America.
What are your thoughts?
They are pandering to the far left.
What are your thoughts on the election in Georgia? Look, Trump has been trying to visit lots of swing states. We know that Hurricane Helene caused more than $6.4 billion in losses to Georgia farms. The state commissioner of agriculture says thousands of farmers were devastated by that storm, warning that their future is now uncertain, Congressman. President Trump was among the first leaders to visit Georgia in the middle of this. Tell me about your constituents. How are they doing after Helene? And then I want to get your instinct on how you believe Georgia voters will vote this November.
Sure. Well, the storm was devastating to us financially. I mean, it just totally wiped out the ag industry in a lot of the counties that I represent. And so the thing I would tell you, Maria, is that we will go back, hopefully, and use the same model that we used with Hurricane Michael, where we actually block grant a lot of the funds to the states. That's what's needed to get money into the hands of the agricultural producers as soon as possible. And so what we did with Hurricane Michael, we've got that model. I hope we use that for Hurricane Helene. The devastation from Helene, it's much broader than it was with Hurricane Michael. It hit a significantly larger portion of the state. It hit a larger portion of Florida. It went all the way into North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. And so there's just a huge impact to the agricultural industry in Florida and Georgia from this storm. Now, the thing I want people to understand is in rural America, the economy starts and stops with the American farmer. So without the American farmer, there is no tax base for the school system. There is no tax base for the local counties and the cities and law enforcement and the other things that we all need. And so we've got to get these farms back up and running again. And then from the standpoint of the American food supply, and this is the real danger in the Democratic Party's refusal to support the American farmer, is that we're importing more food now into this country than we ever have in the history of America. And so we need American farms. We don't need to be dependent on any foreign sources of food, just like we don't need to be dependent on foreign sources of energy. And the Democratic policies are actually giving tremendous subsidies to solar companies to take our fields and our forests away from us that produce the food and the fiber that we need as American citizens. Instead, they're turning our fields into solar wastelands.
Wow, that is just stunning.
Win Georgia, though.
Prayers to your constituents. Congressman, real quick, how do you expect Georgia to vote?
Georgia's going to vote for Trump.